I genuinely cannot believe what I have witnessed from the Boston Celtics in this postseason. They've been up and down through all 3 rounds so far, but tonight was just the cherry on top. In a must-win game, they got absolutely punked by the Miami Heat and are now on the brink of being swept in the conference finals by the 8th seed. I mean, come on. How do you get beat by 26 points in a game of this magnitude? I'm honestly at a loss for words after tonight's performance, but before I go too much further about the Celtics, I want to give credit where credit's due. The Miami Heat have stepped up and delivered game after game in these playoffs, especially when they've been doubted. They're likely headed to the NBA Finals to play the Denver Nuggets, and I bet most people are going to pick the Nuggets, which is just going to motivate the Heat even more. And I think the Nuggets are the better team, but you could honestly say the same thing about both the Bucks and the Celtics, who Miami has already beat or is on the verge of beating. And it took 3 rounds for people to realize it, but you cannot sleep on this team anymore, and it's going to be no different in the finals. If the Nuggets are not on the top of their game, they're going to get punked just like everyone else the Heat have played. So mad respect to the Heat. Coach Eric Spoelstra has been amazing. Jimmy Butler, Bam, and all the undrafted guys that the media likes to focus on. They've been incredible. But then going back to the Celtics, I think the regression we've seen from last year has been astounding. A big difference, obviously, is the coaching, with Mazzulla very clearly having his flaws, but I also think he's kind of set up to fail with the staff that he has. This staff lost Udoka, Hardy, and Stoudemire, all from last year. 2 of those guys are head coaches for other NBA teams now, and then of course Stoudemire at Georgia Tech, and it may have still been a drop-off losing Hardy and Stoudemire like they did, but Udoka was the guy who was driving the culture of the team. He was well liked by the players. He was not afraid to call out people and put them in line. Mazzulla clearly does not have that same personality, and based on some of the comments he made after the game tonight, it seems like he has lost the locker room. That being said, while coaching is a major part of the problem, the players on this team just haven't been good enough. This team has too many weapons to be this bad offensively, and don't get me started on defense. I think that's been the biggest drop-off. Horford and Smart are a year older than last year, and that has showed. Tatum and Brown have also been inconsistent. Tatum especially has had his moments of greatness, but then other times he just looks bad out there. He looks frantic. He'll just dribble into the lane and flail his arms or shoot bad threes. I thought tonight there was a lot of complaining and trying to draw fouls or whatever, and it's like, while the Celtics are complaining, the Heat are just playing and dribbling down the court and scoring. So something is way off with this team, and there's got to be changes in the offseason. I think they're really close, but just not quite there yet. In my opinion, you've got to keep Tatum and Brown together. That duo has been to a bunch of conference finals and a finals, and while they've had their struggles at times, they've proven that if you have those 2 guys on your team, you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to make it to the conference finals. However, you do need to replace some of the pieces around them, like Horford and Smart, I think, are 2 pieces that need to be replaced. As for Mazzulla, it's a tough call for me on whether you fire him or not. On the one hand, I can see the argument for it, as he's clearly in way over his head, but maybe they just bring him back and at least get him a solid coaching staff around him, and then kind of keep the same core, and maybe things will be better. But I don't know, I guess we'll see. Of course, there's still one more game for the Heat to win in order to advance, but let's be honest, this series is over.